In December 2022, a group of hunters walking through the remote, swampy backwoods of Riceboro, Georgia, stumbled upon something horrifying in a drainage ditch. What they found was a human torso. The head and legs had been meticulously severed, leaving absolutely no obvious way to identify who this person was. Investigators scoured the surrounding brush, but they hit an immediate wall. The perpetrator had left almost no physical trail. No stray hairs, no obvious footprints, and zero digital artifacts. The calculated sterilization of the disposal site reflects a professional level of knowledge regarding crime scene processing and how to defeat it. That someone turned out to be Nicholas Kasotis, a former Judge Advocate General officer in the US Navy. Kasotis had served as an attorney at the Pentagon. He spent his career inside the very legal system that was now tasked with hunting him down. He understood the strict rules of evidence. He knew exactly what technicians look for when processing a site, and he knew how digital footprints get tracked by law enforcement. Catching a murderer is difficult enough, but bringing down a perpetrator who has memorized the investigative playbook requires a flawless execution of science and law. Before the murder, Nicholas and Mindi were living a quiet, secretive life in Savannah, Georgia. Kasotis was desperately hiding from a $1.5 million divorce judgment owed to his first wife. To maintain total control, he convinced Mindi they were targets of terrorists. He isolated her psychologically, claiming their every move was being directed by an FBI handler he named Jim McIntyre. Meanwhile, he was busy courting a horror fiction author in Pennsylvania. Operating under the alias Nicholas Stark, he told this new woman that he was a grieving widower whose wife had already passed away. Escaping his debt required a total break from the past. When psychological control reached limits, Kasotis turned to physical erasure. Kasotis deployed his physical countermeasures. He dismembered Mindi's body to thwart identification and heavily scrubbed their Savannah home with chemical cleaners to destroy any biological evidence. This diagram illustrates how investigators countered with hard forensic science. They used Accutrans casting to map the microscopic peaks and valleys on the severed bone, which proved the exact distance between the teeth of the power saw the killer used. Back at the house, technicians sprayed a chemical reagent called Blue Star. It illuminated the microscopic traces of blood that Kasotis had missed during his meticulous cleaning. Then came the forensic entomology. By analyzing the life cycle and age of maggots recovered from the remains, scientists established a precise timeline, placing the exact window of the body dump right around Thanksgiving weekend. Human attempts at sanitization cannot erase microscopic realities. Biology and chemistry exist beyond the reach of legal maneuvering. To build an alibi, Kasotis turned off his personal cell phone for a 2-hour window on the morning he disposed of the remains. He forgot about his car. The FBI pulled the telemetry from his SUV and matched it with surveillance footage, tracking his vehicle straight to a Home Depot for supplies and directly past a camera near the remote swamp. The FBI deployed investigative genetic genealogy. Running the victim's DNA through public databases, they traced genetic markers through distant relatives. Branches narrowed to the Mebane family. A quick parental swab confirmed the victim was Mindi Mebane Kasotis, linking the crime back to Nicholas. His fatal miscalculation was relying on a 20th century understanding of evidence, while operating inside a 21st century grid of genetic and digital tracking. Investigators finally caught up with Kasotis in the quiet suburbs of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where he had fully settled into his fake life with his third wife. At trial, Kasotis was arrogant enough to take the stand. He spun a bizarre, convoluted defense, claiming Mindi actually died in a non-traditional hospital and pointing the finger at the phantom FBI agent, Jim McIntyre. The jury didn't buy a word of it. It took them barely an hour to dismantle his fabricated story, convicting him on all charges and handing down a sentence of life in prison without parole, plus 25 years. Kasotis thought he could talk his way out of a murder the same way he manipulated the women in his life, but his storytelling fell apart the moment it slammed into objective physical evidence. He had used his high-level legal training to isolate, gaslight, and ultimately erase the woman he was supposed to share his life with. The objective, relentless nature of forensic science and the rule of law became the instrument that dismantled the perfect crime, ensuring Mindi Kasotis was not forgotten.